Morning, Nigeria, and I make you welcome. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from our headquarters in Lagos State, Nigeria. I am Henry Igwebike, and let's start today with our newspapers, and possibly we will be moving on to our main conversation also for today. Do well, if you may, to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can find us, reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I'm very so honored to have with me, joining me via Zoom, Emeka Madunagu, journalist, public affairs analyst, to see through all that we have from our newspapers, and if possibly we'll move through our main conversation for today. Good morning, Emeka, and happy weekend to you.
Yeah, good morning. Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your time, as always. And I love us to kickstart today with the first daily on our desk, coming from the Weekend Trust. That is the weekend version of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. Tinubu appoints new service chiefs. Wow. Wow, this is a big one. Nigerians didn't see this coming, which of course would mandate I ask the question Emeka had always never accepted for a while now. We have other stories. Meet the man who may be PDP chairman. Crumbling love stories of Nigerian celebrities. How governors reshape Northern Emirates. Stories of children suffering from malnutrition. Of course, with over 23 million out-of-school children, especially from the northern part of Nigeria, this is a very disturbing matter. Ivory Coast votes amid fear of violence. How gold for arms fuels terror in the north and the west. That's the northwest and the west of Nigeria. Emeka, you know, you've always refuted the fact that the coup scare was just a propaganda tool by Tinubu's administration to maybe divert our attention of Nigerians to some other things rather than his lopsided governance style. But replacing service chiefs or appointing new service chiefs, don't you think we are slowly but surely getting into not just the coup as a postulate, but right now a theory? What's your take?
Well, the fact that the president changed the service chiefs, you know, it's just routine. They've been there for excuse me, for 2 years. So, and it's at the I think it's at the behest of the president. I'll need to check the Armed Forces Act on tenure of service chiefs. But as it stands, you know, of course, their performance had left a lot to be desired, you know, and so that's why they just they just had to be moved away, you know, because I mean, look at it now. Look at insecurity, you know. Look at insecurity. Look at you know, the whole country is so unsafe, and it's as if we don't have military chiefs, you know. I mean, they've just been there. They've not been pulling their weight. I mean, look at for instance, in the Navy. I mean, Nigeria is paying a private military contractor 4 billion naira every month. That is the Tantita Security Services. 4 billion naira every month. You know, I mean, to safeguard the pipelines. To safeguard the pipelines. And I mean, that's embarrassing. When we have a Nigerian Navy, we have a master. You know, I mean, how can we be paying a private military contractor 4 billion naira? That means the Navy is not living up to its billing. The Navy is not living up to expectations. Then you have I mean, look at the army chiefs. The chief of army staff who was made the chief of defense staff. Maybe the president, maybe for one reason or the other, you know. I mean, or maybe for one reason or the other, you know. Didn't just want to throw him out. That's why he just promoted him. You know, he just made him chief of defense staff. But of course, you know that, you know, definitely, you know, it's at the discretion. You know that the service chiefs are basically independent. It's not as if they are beholden to the chief of defense staff, you know. So that's why you just find out that the president had to sack them. So there are a lot of inconsistencies and contradictions in the nation's security architecture. How can you be paying a private military contractor 4 billion naira every month to safeguard pipelines? Why not put that money into improving the security architecture? Why not put that money into acquiring drones and other sophisticated equipment? Boko Haram has been using drones, for attacks in Borno State. The governor of Borno has been warning. How much do drones cost? I don't think you spend up to 4 billion naira on drones, to patrol the entire Niger Delta, to patrol the Northeast. In fact, to even patrol parts of the country. I don't think if Israel can send drones, Iran will send drones to Israel to bomb Israel. Ukraine can send drones to bomb Russia. These are bigger territories than Nigeria. Then you see that we can't acquire drones. We are acquiring fighter jets, that work on limited, time spans and all that, in the air. But drones, how much do drones cost?
But Emeka, drones are just merely for, that is, if you do not want them to go kinetic. Drones are just there to observe. We still need men on the ground. We still need foots on the ground.
Drones. I'm not talking of drones for videographers.
I understand what you're saying, because if you're talking about drones, it means that we need a kinetic sort of drones that when it sees something, it would attack, and that is not, I think, the best approach to ending bunkering in the Niger Delta and maybe insurgency in the northwest and the northeast of Nigeria. We still need men on the ground.
No. Modern warfare.
Because this is not a full-blown war, Emeka. Now, this is not a full-blown war.
You see, that is where we miss it as a country. People regard you as an enemy. They are fighting you as if you are at war. You are calling them bandits and fighting them as if they are people stealing pots of stew from somebody's kitchen, backyard kitchen. These people are cutting slices of your territory. These people are almost wrecking your economy. Our OPEC production quota is between 2.2 million barrels and 2.5 million barrels per day. Right now, since Tinubu came in, we have not been able to hit 2 million barrels per day on a realistic basis. And you are saying you are not at war? You waiting until you have no single barrel to produce before you know you're at war? These people keep killing our soldiers. Just some weeks ago, they killed an officer and some soldiers. They use drones to attack you. No, it's just like sending people out with guns to go and fight people with AK-47. How do you do that? You must change your military strategy. The president must upgrade the president must upgrade the threat level of the country. We are at war. There's no doubt about that. We are at war. The United States doesn't make a distinction between fighting a sovereign country and fighting terrorists. Look at how he dealt with ISIS in Iraq. Look at how he faced the Taliban. What are we talking about? When the United States came in 2020, I think April, to rescue one American missionary who was kidnapped in Niger and moved across the border to Nigeria. He didn't come with a military band now, playing a birthday song. They came with SEALs who were fully armed, ready to do damage. And they did damage, adequate damage. They got the American hostage back home. What we are talking about is results. But if we keep deceiving ourselves, we are not at war and all of that. That is what we give the impetus to terrorists, to continue to deal with us. We are at war. Donald Trump came in and renamed the Department of Defense to Department of War, saying America is at war. America is at war. There are different threats at different levels. Even beyond the ones we see. We have bioterrorism. We have cyber terrorism. You have people who want to destroy your food chain. Is that not happening in Nigeria? So what else do we need to see before we know we're at war? Maybe we should even copy the American example and rename the Ministry of Defense the Ministry of War. Because we're at war.
All right.
I think we should stop. Look, we should stop papering over the threats facing this country. It's not a joke. I mean, it's not a joke. Our borders are porous. There's no doubt about that. So what we need is that we must have a 24-hour response mechanism using drones. Because let me tell you something. You know, during the rainy season, these fighter jets cannot really work so much because the bushes are overgrown. You understand? So these terrorists, Boko Haram and the rest of them, they can make good use of the foliage, you know, of the dense foliage to hide, right? But you have to wait till the dry season. So are we going to keep quiet and wait while these people, you know, decimate our troops? The answer is no. In the dry season, if they make any movement, it will kick up dust and it will show where they are. So let us maybe rename the Ministry of Defense to Ministry of War. Let's go all out and fight this war and win it. Simple. Thank you.
All right, that's awesome one, Emeka. Of course, it's a developing story. We hope to see facts to why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu actually displaced his former aides, military aides, and why he replaced them with new ones, and what that means, especially for security in Nigeria and politics in the military as we speak today. We have other trending matters from the Punch newspaper, Saturday Punch, if we may, in the next 60 seconds. Obasanjo, I rejected El Rufai as my successor over immaturity. Do you think El Rufai is still very immature when it comes to politics and his rants and the many things he has to say? When he is in your camp, he plays according to your rules. When he is out of your camp, he says something different. Speak to us on El Rufai's persona as it is today regarding what President Obasanjo said. Hopefully that he would have replaced Yar Adua, the late. Speak to me, Emeka.
Talking about Obasanjo's choices, I think Obasanjo was significantly distracted as, you know, after he lost that third term bid in 2005. So, you know, because he already had Umar Yar'Adua as a possible replacement. I came across a copy of the Aso Rock. I think they have then they had a bulletin, an in-house magazine. I don't know if they still have it. You know, where Obasanjo had given a hint that he was backing Yar'Adua to succeed him. You know, he gave a hint at a public event where Yar'Adua was. You know, he made some statement. I saw that magazine in the library of the newspaper where I was working at that time. You know, and so I was wondering, why didn't the media see this? We were so focused on the third term. Then thereafter, you know, we just lost. You know, we just lost the plot. So, El Rufai, yes, it could have been considered. He said because of immaturity. Of course, you know, El Rufai is a petulant, you know, and very self-absorbed individual. He believes he knows so much. He believes everybody should kowtow to him, you know. And so, and again, you know, he has extreme views. Look at on the issue of religion. You know, see here, he was the one who brought in a Muslim ticket in Kaduna State. Even when Buhari was regarded as a bigot, as a religious bigot. Buhari was said to have rejected the idea of a Muslim presidency in 2014. You know, yet early 2015, when he was to pick a running mate. He was to pick Tinubu as his running mate. It was suggested to him, but he was said to have rejected it. You know, that no. How will he convince people? You know, because he had been cutting different churches and all of that. Remember, in the earlier run in 2011, he ran with Pastor Tunde Bakare. So he was conscious of that, how will I explain to people? How will I explain this Muslim ticket? But then Rufai went ahead. You know, I said he didn't give a damn. You know, and look at everything that happened in Kaduna. Look at the things he was saying about paying terrorists, you know, I mean, to pacify them. Look at what he said about those criminals, those terrorists that, those ones that are doing business, unlike Nnamdi Kanu, who is, you know, pushing for you know, separate, you know, or who is pushing a separatist agenda. So with all of that, nobody could have trusted him with power. As I did. Look at when he was trying to, upgrade the status of Abuja. I mean, make Abuja livable. Yeah, it was a good idea, but he took on it as if, I mean, there were other things other than just doing his job. So, for you to be acceptable in leadership, you must be self-restraining. You must be able to restrain yourself. You must have those traits that make you realize you are not one of the crowd. You are what is called primus inter pares, first among equals. You're one of those that people should look up to you. People should emulate you, for enduring, for enduring values. Children should look up to you and be proud to say, that's my president. But the station where, I mean, you don't really care what your pronouncements, the things you support, how they impact on the people, then people have got to be very careful about choosing you for leadership. And I think that's Arifai's problem. I mean, he needs to find a way to, get over himself and really face issues, because he's not a young guy anymore. Once you cross 50, cross 60, you should become tempered. You should begin to think that, look, you have a duty to pass on a veritable legacy to up and coming generations. So you must moderate your comments. You need to inspire confidence in the generality of the people. And so Obasanjo just saying that, I mean, it's clear that, I mean, he saw things that people didn't see at that time. Thank you.
Very well, Emeka, absolutely well said. Given what happened in Kaduna, especially the chaos, the fracas, violent ones between the northern part of Kaduna and the southern part of Kaduna, and the mayhem and the killings that happened in the southern part of Nigeria, of Kaduna, sorry to say. And today, with the new governor, we've not seen any of those, which means that El-Rufai knows something that he hasn't told Nigerians, and equally have not told the Kaduna state people, and needs to really apologize to the southern part of Kaduna, because if this were a template like it was supposed to be so, it would still have been happening in the southern part of Kaduna. But with the new governor, none of that is happening in the southern part of Kaduna, which means that El-Rufai really needs to answer some questions here. But of course, given what Obasanjo has said, well, we'll look up to the future and see what that would make out of it. But of course, Emeka will still be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. IMF urges Nigeria to guard the reform gains amid rising debt pressure. That in a bit. Enterprise Weekend it is. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back. Thank you so very much for being back. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. At the 2025 annual meetings of the IMF and the World Bank in Washington, D.C., Nigeria received both praise and caution from global financial institutions. The IMF commended the country's ongoing reforms such as exchange rate unification, subsidy removal, and fiscal coordination, raising Nigeria's 2025 growth forecast to 3.9%. Due to stronger fundamentals, improved oil output, and investor optimism. However, the fund warned that fiscal fragility, high debt services, and volatile oil revenues could undermine recovery if not carefully managed. IMF officials stressed the need for consistency in policy implementation, enhanced revenue mobilization, and prudent debt management to sustain progress and prevent a reversal of the recent economic gains. Central Bank Governor Olayemi Cardoso assured investors that Nigeria remains committed to its reform path, noting significant improvements such as falling inflation, Naira stability, and stronger foreign reserves. He said fiscal and monetary discipline were beginning to restore confidence and rebalance the public finances. Still, the IMF cautioned that Nigeria's rising fiscal deficit and debt cost continue to constrain development, spending urgent greater efficiency, digitalized tax system, and diversification away from oil dependence. Let's get talking. I still have Emeka Madunagu. Emeka, what's your take on this? You know, the Western institutions, they know how to make us feel good whilst we are in their terrain. They make us feel awesome. They keep us very comfortable, knowing that we have money to spend on their system. But once we leave that part, or we leave that off, they go back to spending their dooms and all. Speak to me. Do you think what's coming from IMF at this point really should hold waters in any way?
Yeah, well, the IMF has told us that, they've told us what we need to do. I mean, if you have to follow the prescriptions of the IMF, you must make sure that you follow them to the letter. Otherwise, you will just be kidding. I tell you what, if you take the medium-term expenditure framework of the federal of the Tinubu administration, 2025 to I think 2027, I think somewhere is it page 50 or somewhere, it says that the framework was based on material sourced from an IMF document. It's there. Let's go through it. You will see it. So what it just tells you is that this administration lacks original ideas about how to run the economy. So basically they're just all their policies, their economic policies are just as handed down by the IMF. And that doesn't speak well because they campaigned. They put things in their manifesto which they said they were going to do. They never said in their manifesto, or never at any point, during his campaigns, Tinubu tell Nigerians that IMF would be his chief economic advisor. He never said so. So to now come in and say that, okay, you are going to continue with the policies of late President Muhammadu Buhari. Well, Buhari wasn't following the IMF strictly. The IMF asked him to remove subsidy. He didn't. The IMF asked him to do certain things. He didn't. Even though in 2020 he took $3.4 billion special drawing rights from the IMF, but he didn't. But honestly, where Buhari missed it was when he took $50 billion from CBN through Ways and Means in 2021. That was equivalent to 23 trillion naira then, and which was a disaster. It really hit the economy very hard and sent inflation spiraling. So what we've got to do is that we need fiscal discipline. We need a realignment of priorities. A lot of things that this administration is doing are not priorities. Some of the road projects and all of that are not priorities because these are things you cannot rush. For instance, the Lagos-Calabar Highway, 15 trillion naira is not what you just dump on a project, within a few years. 15 trillion naira and do your roads, your internal roads. Let the federal roads be fixed. When they are well fixed, then you expand the railway, the rail infrastructure. Fix the Port Harcourt to, Maiduguri, Port Harcourt, Abai, Enugu, Maiduguri railway. Then you can take a point from the railway from Itakpe to Warri. You can, where it crosses over Benin Asaba Expressway, you can just take a point from there, and do a junction and let it face Asaba. You get to Asaba, you can find a way to take it across to Onitsha or to Guta. To Guta. You can do. There are many things government can do. Let me tell you. I was watching a video this morning. Somebody was talking about railways. Now look, all over the world, the railways are not a profitable business venture. That is why that is why you see that governments are the major investors in railway. Because government in a way can subsidize rail transportation. At least let that be part of the social benefits to the citizens. So when you look at all of that, and then you now take 15 trillion, imagine putting 15 trillion into railway, it will do a lot. It will do a lot. It will remove a lot of pressure from the roads. It will rework the logistics, transportation, human transportation, and all of that in Nigeria. But we've got to realign our priorities. Now you've cleared the debts of airlines. But again, what about the foreign investors who left? You are looking for foreign investors. But what about the ones who left? The Procter & Gamble's and the rest of them. GlaxoSmithKline. Why GlaxoSmithKline? Why haven't you made efforts to get them to come back? Their major problem was inability to repatriate their profits. Fine, why not work on that instead of wasting money looking for new foreign investors who will come and see the same problems and run away after a few years? Why not clear the roadblocks? And it's very simple. Realign your priorities. Very simple. One of the realignments should be, fiscal policies geared towards creating jobs. Jobs at different levels. At the macro, nano, micro, medium, and the macro levels. What you call MSMEs. Create jobs at different levels. Give incentives, at single digits. Financial incentives, loans, credit to young entrepreneurs, so at a single digit interest rate. Now, you're looking at bringing an inflation, but interest rates are still high because of your excessive borrowing from the domestic market. Now, you've not been able to significantly bring down interest rates because you're still servicing treasury bills. So you still have to make your portfolio investment sector, attractive. And you keep boasting about it without looking at the deleterious effects. So the thing is this, they must be sincere with themselves. They got to tell themselves the truth. And the only way we can get, like the World Bank says that 139 million Nigerians are living below the poverty line. The only way they can get out of that is to be honest with themselves. The only way they can get out of it is to get Nigerians working, get Nigerians productive, and remove this entitlement mentality that government has to do everything for us. Because that's the problem. That's one major problem. We have this, this street lingo they call, now where man they walk, now in the chop, and so you see a lot of corruption. You see a lot of inefficiency. You see Nigeria, you employ people, and the next thing they're thinking of is how to steal from you. That is not, that will not build an economy. But when you give people the idea that they can make money without working, a lot will be thinking of cyber fraud. Instead of thinking of cyber skills that can build the economy, they were thinking of cyber fraud. Because, they are giving the idea that, if you can manipulate people online, you can make money, So, those are the things we need to realign so that Nigerians can get working. You can take one, instead of lying to yourself that you lifted 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and then you rebased the GDP. But even at that, you have not been able to bring down inflation to single digit rates. Why? Because you keep lying to yourself. Face with the honest truth. Face with the honest truth. There are a lot of things you can make in Nigeria if power supply is stable. There are a lot of things we are going to China and all these countries to import that we can do here. Because if you look at it relative to the exchange rate, labor, if you value our labor here, it's more cheaper than in China because of the exchange rate. But if you fix power, if you fix the roads, if you remove the thugs in uniform, the different thugs, security agencies, the local governments and all of that, remove them from the roads. After all, Nigeria signed an ECOWAS protocol of free movement across the sub-region. How come we don't have free movement within Nigeria? You must pay and pay and pay at every checkpoint. Why? That is hypocrisy. That should be the first thing. That should have been the first thing. You scrap all the roadblocks. Remove them. Let security agents be patrolling the road. They don't have to mount roadblocks. Because those roadblocks are an impediment So, they're an impediment to economic development. You go to the offices of a road safety, you see vehicles parked with perishable goods, perishable items. Why did you allow them to leave the market to even get into the road? Now, maybe they've left, they've traveled over more than 200 kilometers, maybe to get to Lagos. And then you just impound them somewhere and pack, and the goods, the items, they are perishable. So this attitude has to change. The ease of doing business is perilous in Nigeria. So we must change our priorities. We must be more serious about production, power supply. We must deal with insecurity. We cannot pretend. People have been, some others are saying that everything is okay. Everything is okay. They owe Nigerians an apology. Why did the president change the service chiefs? Because they threw out, a spin that there was a coup plot, so that you could now justify change of service chiefs. Because how could you explain to Nigerians that your choice of service chiefs was a big disaster? That you had failed woefully. You had failed to secure the country. You had failed woefully. So you now have to look for a spin and all of that. We are not impressed by all those things, but we saw those things under Babangida, under Abacha. We saw those things under Obasanjo, under Buhari. Every time, they're just talking of coup and coup and coup. We saw all those distractions. We need to get to work. Nigerians must be brought on board as stakeholders in whatever you are doing. Explain it to Nigerians. Get their buy-in. Then you will succeed. Not a situation whereby you put solar street lights, you run solar street lights through a road, and by the next morning, people have vandalized them. You do roads, and people are digging the roads, digging across the roads to lay pipes, to lay cables. All of those things, show that the people don't have a buy-in into your projects. It shows they don't care. But when you make them critical stakeholders, you will not want to destroy what you value, what you invested effort and time in building. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. We can't overstate some of these facts. Someone once said that Nigeria, amongst other African countries, is one country that is easiest to govern. The Nigerians, if the things happening in the Arab phase of Africa, that's the northern part of Africa, is happening in Nigeria, that Nigerians would not have complained. But here we are, despite all of this desire to be peaceful, be patient, our leaders unfortunately take us for granted. Of course, that is not a reason for us to do what we should not do. But I think at the same time, our leaders should really, up their skills and ensure that they govern well for the benefit of Nigerians, not just at home, for those in the diaspora who earnestly desire to come back home. That's our take for today. Thank you so very much, Emeka. I truly do appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. All right, people, that's about time. We'll leave. We need to go. Please do well to follow us. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Gwibike. Have yourself a splendid weekend. God bless you. God bless Nigeria. I'll see you on the other side. Bye-bye.